Hi everyone, Corey here with Team Cramer Fishing, and in this video we're going to discuss fishing pliers and cutting tools. Okay, so we do a lot of shore fishing here at Team Cramer Fishing, and that usually means I'm walking long distances. I carry most of my gear in a bag with me, kind of a sling bag, and a lot of times I'm wading rivers. Sometimes we're fishing for trout, but having a cutting tool or a good set of fishing pliers is probably one of my most essential tools. And I've gone through quite a few different formulations, kind of starting at the cheaper end and then just finding the very best fit for the type of fishing that we do, which is a lot of finesse fishing, and a lot of shore fishing. So we don't have our tools just kind of laying around the boat. I have to carry them all with me. When I first started, and I think we made a video, I'm just going to go through some of the different tools I've used, what I think of them, and eventually I'm going to let you know what my favorite and best one is, and I'll show you how to buy one of those on Amazon. We made a video of beginning fishermen, and one of the things I recommended was getting, these are like $3.50 or something like that, these little pliers. So they have a little cutting tool built into them. They're needle nose pliers. They're long and skinny, so you can get hooks out of the fish mouth if they swallow them a little too far. And then they have a little spring to hold them open. And those are the three basic elements that you want with any kind of fishing pliers. You want something to help you take the hooks out of the mouth, something to cut your line, and something that automatically holds these open, because a lot of times you're working with just one hand. So these have all of those. Now, there's two weaknesses, I would say, to these type of pliers. One is the cutting tool, it isn't very good. If you inspect them when you buy them and make sure you get a sharp one, it can help a little bit. But especially if you're cutting braid or anything like that, eventually you're going to get annoyed, or you'll wear it out where it just doesn't work very good. The other thing is, these are pretty thick if you're catching any kind of smaller fish. They can't even fit in. And sometimes you're fishing for bigger fish, but you catch smaller fish and you need to get the hook out of their mouth, right? Or in order to save your hook. So these are a little fat for getting in there. But if you're just starting out, and it's better to have these than not to have anything at all. So something along these lines, especially if you can get one with a sharp cutting tool, is a good idea. And I think they're under $4 at Walmart. Now, one of the tools that I bought that I wasn't very impressed with is this. It's Outdoor Angler is the brand. I bought it at Walmart. I liked it because it was super small, and it folds up. It has all kinds of little tools, so it's a true multi-tool. It's in the fishing department, Outdoor Angler is the brand. Now, the cutting instrument on this is very poor. The pliers are basically exactly what you don't want for a fishing tool. They're fat and wide, okay, and they're short. So I guess they had to design it that way so it would fold up really small. I wouldn't bother getting one of these. I could be perfectly happy throwing this away. They aren't very expensive, but they aren't worth it. I would get just the more basic needle nose pliers probably before I got one of these. I mean, the extra little tools and stuff, basically you never use for fishing. If you want a different type of, Leatherman tool or something, that's different. But for fishing, I would stay away from this one, even though it's cheap. So after that, what I would do is when I had this tool, I also got some Rapala scissors. Now these are really nice. They cut very sharp. I don't know if I have some line around here. I'm gonna grab some line and show you guys. Okay, I grabbed some line. This is like 30-pound braid. It's the cheap kind, so it's pretty flimsy. And I found that this is the hardest line to cut, especially if there's not like a lot of tension on it. So if you take like these initial pliers, that you might buy, even if I put just a little bit of tension and hold it between my fingers here, you just can't, it doesn't even cut. It makes a little nick and that's about it. Same thing for these guys. These little guys that I told you to stay away from. I mean, you could spend your whole life and this would never cut anything. It doesn't even cut mono. Okay, So when I had the other pliers, I would carry the pair of scissors too, because they were just a little easier, you know, and like, so it takes like 2 cuts basically, and that's not putting a ton of tension, just what I can hold with my fingers. You know, if you had no tension, I'm not sure if it could, yeah, like 2.5 cuts basically. Okay, so these are made by Rapala. They're in the fishing department of your local Walmart probably, and I've used these quite a bit, and they're still very sharp, and they work really well as just a basic cutting tool, and they're cheap. They're not too expensive. So a combination of some pliers and these were working really well for me, but I wanted to condense everything down because I have so much stuff in my bag with camera gear and everything else, that last winter we got some of these. This is a Boom brand cutting tool, and this is only like $7 on Amazon. I'll put a link down in the description for one of these too. So you have the features that I'm talking about. You have the spring that opens it up for you. You have a cutting tool here. You have a long needle nose, and this one also has a split ring plier on the end of it. And there may be other things here that I just don't use that somebody else might find useful. I always have a keeper on all of these, or else they absolutely will get lost. I think I lost 2 of these, and I finally got just keepers for everything, and it saved all my gear so much. It'll save you so much money. And I bought these off Amazon. I bought like a dozen of them. So if you take like this cutter and compare it to the scissors, I mean, boom, it's super duper sharp. Even with no tension, it can cut through. So it has a great cutter on it. Now, the one drawback that I found is they're pretty thick. And with the split ring plier on the end, combined with the thickness here, it can be a little tricky to maneuver hooks inside the fish's mouth, especially like some smaller treble hooks. Sometimes those Aberdeen hooks can also, and so for $7, it is hard to beat this. I'm not gonna lie. And you know, I have no problem recommending it for that kind of money. And I'll put a link down below. You can't really beat the cutter and everything for what you get here. Now, even though I love that one, like I said, it was a little tricky to get some of those hooks out. And so what I've gone to is, now these are Rompson pliers, and they come together as a pair, okay? So I first learned about Rompson from Let's Go Fishing South Florida. If you haven't checked out his channel, make sure to check it out. He used to talk about these every now and then. And so I thought I'd check him out because he does a lot more saltwater fishing. And so I wanted something that can maybe hold up to that type of you know, corrosion and wear and tear and stuff. So these are actually my favorite pliers ever. The other pliers that come are great because these are very small. And these are basically just straight up aluminum pliers that you would use to take hooks out of like a big toothy fish's mouth, you know, like a barracuda or a pike or a muskie, something along those lines, that you have giant teeth and you have a big old lure with a bunch of treble hooks. That's what you want these for. I don't usually carry them with me unless I know I'm going to be going for that type of fish. Okay, but they come together in a pair, and it's $22.99 for both of them. So not super cheap, but I have to say I absolutely love these little pliers. These are only about, I don't know, 3.5, 4 inches. I'm gonna say they're 4 inches. 4 inches long, they're super small, they weigh nothing, so when I'm carrying them around every day, I keep them right on the outside of my bag, and so I can just grab them whenever I want to. The cutter on these is just as sharp as the other one that I just showed you. And I've been using these a lot. I mean, you think about how many times you cut your line, but so yeah, so even with no tension, it basically cut through. They didn't go quite all the way through, but if you have any kind of tension on here, it just cuts right through it. So pretty sweet cutter. And then what I really like is you can fit, if you need to, you can fit like this whole thing inside the fish's mouth if you get something down real deep. It also has a split ring plier on the end if you need to use the split rings, but it's very, very skinny. And that really helps not only with the smaller hooks and the smaller fish, but it really helps when you have like a trebles and stuff and you have to really maneuver them. You have a lot of control with these pliers. And then sometimes they're so thin also, if I need to come up from from the gills, they fit into the gills really easily, and they're just really, and they're just big enough. You look at my hand, I mean, they're just the right size. They have a good little notch here. I absolutely love these little pliers. And you know, they do everything that you could possibly want them to do. I've been using them for several months now, and I would not go fishing without these suckers. So I'm going to leave a link to these down there too. You can get them from Amazon. You know, it costs a little bit more money, so if you don't want to spend that kind of money, or the size doesn't really matter, these Boom are a good alternative too, and I'll leave that link there too. But if you deal with smaller fish on a regular basis, microfishing, I mean, it's hard to beat these for microfishing. You can almost not find a pair of good pliers with the tiny, tiny little grips on the end that are also split ring. Okay, that's all I had to say about the cutters. The only other ones I have are these little scissors. They're more like surgical type scissors and I use those for cutting fly, tying flies and cutting fly line and stuff. So you could do something like that too, but the do-it-all one, if I only had one to take with me, the Rompson, and make sure to check it out. All right, thanks for watching Team Cramer Fishing. We should be catching some more fish here. If you like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys later.